Hey everybody, it's Logan with Sweetfish. In today's episode, we're going to share an interview from B2B Tech Talk from our friends over at Ingram Micro. B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro is a podcast that shares news about emerging tech before it becomes mainstream. Maybe you're a sales or marketing professional with an aptitude for new tech, or you just like to nerd out a bit on some of this stuff from time to time. I know I do. Or maybe you know an IT pro, a CIO, an investor in tech companies that might find this episode useful. In this new series, B2B Tech, you'll hear conversations with tech leaders as they explore topics like IoT, cloud evolution, the future of AI, and more. If you or a friend would like to go deeper on these topics, just search B2B Tech Talk in Apple Podcasts or be on the lookout for hashtag B2B Tech in the headlines here on B2B Growth. All right, let's get into the show.
You're listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro, the place to learn about new technology and technological advances before they become mainstream. This special edition 1 episode is sponsored by Cisco, taking your business a level up. Let's get into it. Welcome back to B2B Tech Talk. My name is James Carriere with Sweetfish Media, and I will be the guest host for this episode. We're recording on site in Denver, Colorado at the Ingram Micro 1 event. And in this episode, I'll be talking to Jason Carriere. He is the IT channel sales leader at LinkedIn. Jason, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. It's great to be with you as well.
I'm excited to chat with you, Jason. I'm a huge advocate for the LinkedIn platform, so I'm really excited for this conversation.
Same here.
So, Jason, you're known for designing and implementing best practices within the overall IT B2B channel on LinkedIn. What do you think the IT B2B industry struggles with the most when it comes to social media marketing?
I would say just the newness of it. The channel, specifically as far as the IT channel, is very used to traditional programs. They're very heavy on events in terms of marketing, sporting events, whether it be dinners, social events. While those are good, they have a very limited reach and they can't scale. Having been in the channel myself for many years, I've done those. I've sponsored them myself with my own MDF when I used to work at companies like AMD, as an example. Mm-hmm. And while there's a lot of high value there, the scalability and the efficiency in terms of really reaching a large number of people with the message is tough.
Yeah.
And I'd say that the newness of social and digital has been somewhat of a challenge in terms of from an adoption standpoint. In every industry, there's a maturity curve that clients and all of us kind of progress on and within. And I think the maturity curve now is a great time for the channel in terms of to really look at social and digital from a long-term perspective. I've described what we do at LinkedIn in particular in terms of with the channel clients as it's really a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
And the channel can be very transactional at times because there are monthly, weekly, and daily sales goals that we all have. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, playing the long-term game and having a long-term vision around social and digital as a platform and not being necessarily too concerned about the short-term game at times is going to benefit the channel over the next couple of years for sure.
So you're speaking twice at this event, Jason. One of the things that you're talking about is how social can drive return on investment, which I just being at this event for the last day, I've heard a lot of talk around that. How everyone wants to talk about ROI.
Yep.
Obviously. Give us some tips for how our listeners can get ROI from LinkedIn.
So everything that we do within the context of this event in particular is through Ingram Micro. So we work with the digital and social teams very closely. The beauty of LinkedIn is the platform itself is fully scalable. It's very efficient. When someone creates an account on LinkedIn or works with Ingram Micro, as an example, from a reseller standpoint or VAR standpoint, or even like an OEM like a Veeam or an HP or a Cisco, they can get real-time data. And what we give to our clients is the ability to log into a portal that they literally can build a marketing campaign or program within 12 to 15 minutes. They can select the content that they want to have. They can select the audience. They can select the budget, and they can select KPIs.
Yeah.
And while there's a lot of power in being able to do this on their own and develop some sort of ROI mechanism, the really great thing about LinkedIn is the ability to actually choose that for themselves. And so I've worked at past companies whereby we had large account management teams that had to do everything for the clients. And the clients oftentimes wouldn't have necessarily a vested interest in doing those things themselves. So now that we really put the power in the hands of an Ingram Micro to work with us collaboratively around specific programs and solutions, I think the big ROI questions really come back to, are we targeting the right individuals? Do we have the right campaign material? Is there a good follow-up in place? What is Ingram Micro doing to drive specifically within that category or solution? And let's be honest, a lot of the leads that folks get today at different companies for solutions, solution sales cycles are 9, 12, or 15 months, right? And I think as Ingram, as a key partner with Ingram sees the value in the long-term capabilities that LinkedIn brings in terms of, from an investment standpoint, to build not just loyal followers, but help them penetrate new markets based upon our first-party data in terms of targeting.
Yeah.
And that's been the big driver for us with the Ingram Micro marketing and digital teams, has been to really drive that message home through the vendor community. So the ROI conversation goes from point programs to what's the broader solution set that they have. How can we best target based upon personas within LinkedIn, and what value can they drive to the partner to actually give them some specific metrics back based upon their KPIs.
Yeah. Can you dive a little bit deeper into the targeting piece of that? That's
Sure.
something that's super fascinating to me. I mean, you guys are sitting on an enormous amount of data.
We are.
Because of your user base.
Yeah. And quite frankly, it's really what differentiates us from every other B2B social platform out there today. It is, when you look at the first party data, sort of the exchange that someone has when they come to LinkedIn and create a profile, is that we now have the ability to target them in a very mature, sophisticated, and mindful manner.
Yeah.
And when I say target, I mean to market to them, ultimately. And that first-party data gives us the ability to target not just by where they work or by the geo, but by skills, by experience, by a whole host of things that appear on a LinkedIn profile that allow us to serve very targeted, relevant media at a specific time in their own sort of investigative journey around different technologies and solutions. And having worked at companies that are somewhat similar to us, and within this MarTech industry, they primarily use third-party data. Although they will use call centers offshore.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, the model is now changed and developed in such a way that LinkedIn, you could actually build a relationship with myself or you, James, or anyone else at this summit event.
Yep.
And the really cool thing about coming out of these presentations that we just did is the fact that folks now are sending me their LinkedIn, connection requests, right? Because I'm not anonymous.
Yeah.
I'm actually flesh and blood, and so are they. And they had great questions, and they asked, and some questions we were able to answer on the spot, and some others that we're going to follow up with.
Yeah.
But those folks in the audience today that heard the presentation can now build a relationship with me virtually, or follow me, or me learn from them and what they're doing in their businesses. And that's really the differentiator between what we do and everyone else.
Yeah, I love it. So obviously you're dealing a lot with enabling these companies to be able to do to run specific campaigns with the incredible targeting that they have at their fingertips. But one thing that I've found is there's actually an enormous opportunity just for organic reach on the platform. LinkedIn is really, it's become a content platform, and I don't think that a lot of business owners and business leaders understand the power of how much. Obviously, spending money to target your advertising to the exact people that you want to reach.
That's right.
Should be done.
That's
right. You should be doing that. But there's also, my content on LinkedIn has been viewed millions of times completely organically.
That's right.
Because it's a content platform. Can you speak to that and
Sure.
where you see the opportunity there?
So I see the opportunity there, and these are some of the questions that we had from the audience today: is how do you differentiate between the company brand and your brand?
Yeah.
And once again, we are as individuals, we want a name, and or we want a face to a name. We want to build relationships with individuals, not necessarily companies per se. People work for companies, and that represents a certain type of brand. But the organic piece is huge, and the primary way that LinkedIn grew was through recruiting, right? And that now has transitioned and morphed into LinkedIn Marketing Solutions, which is the division I'm in, Enterprise Tech, and you have learning solutions, and then you also have sales solutions like Sales Navigator. And the organic capability for folks to publish their own content for either themselves or on behalf of their company, for instance, on the platform, and for that to be shared is incredible.
Yep.
Because what it does is it brings a high degree of relevancy to a specific set of connections that you have in your own network that then you're able to share out with. And you have no idea how many folks are going to actually interact or share with that specific content and get real value from it. And that's the cool thing about LinkedIn. The majority of our content, the majority of what we do on the platform today, by a factor of almost 15 to 1, is content versus jobs. So while
it's not surprising.
While Talent Solutions is still a main business for us, the marketing solutions side of the house has grown rapidly and will continue to do so because of things like that.
One quick tip that I've noticed just by trying to produce as much content as I can on the platform is not just posting and leaving, but posting a status update and then actually engaging in the comments of those posts. So you have this incredible opportunity because of the people that are on LinkedIn. To address them, and when they chime in and they comment, actually go in and engage with it. Reply to it. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't need to. I hear a lot of people say, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. Take 10 minutes at the end of the day. You post it too. Go back a few hours later and just go and reply to those comments and engage with the community that you're building there. Because the LinkedIn platform gives you an incredible opportunity to do just that. So,
like you said, that's all organic. It's all user-generated content.
Exactly.
Real quick, before we jump straight back into the episode today, we want to tell you about Ingram Micro Financial Solutions and how you can maximize your buying power and get to yes with your customers faster. For the last 9 years, Ingram Micro has been Channel Pro's reader's choice for best financing options. Put the power of our credit and leasing options to work for you. You can easily contact Financial Solutions at ingrammicro.com. All right, let's get back to the show.
My next question for you, Jason, you talked in your session about brand building. Talk to us about the importance of companies building a brand.
So the research and surveys that we've done historically reinforce the core belief, and I think everyone has this in their gut, so to speak, but has now been sort of teased out through the data, that companies that invest in their brand wisely and efficiently have a greater opportunity to grow and scale. They have a higher ASP, average selling price of their products. They can maintain better profit margins. But more importantly, they have a larger community of audience members that they can then target. And the brand piece is somewhat challenging, I think, for smaller companies in terms of within tech, because they look at the share of voice of some of the larger companies. So even if you're not a $15 billion or $500 million partner today, whether that's OEM or whether that's on the VAR side, you can still build your brand starting today. Right? I always go back to the story of Michael Krasny, the founder of CDW. He sold a PC to the Chicago Tribune in 1984, I believe it was. And that company today is a $15 billion powerhouse. So you have to start somewhere. And he started with the medium that was in vogue back then, which was newsprint. And it was just a simple sale that led to this massive organization. And there's stories like that across tech. And that's just one story. But utilize what you have in front of you. And LinkedIn is a great platform to start that with. And even if you're just a regional small player, in terms of that you just might be in the Midwest or the Chicagoland area, or you might have a certain segment like healthcare, public sector, don't discount the fact that you can start today. You don't have to be an expert of it. You're going to find that you're going to be able to kind of jump in the shallow end of the pool and gradually get yourself to the deep end. It's going to take time. You're going to take a lot of patience. But ultimately, you need to have that long-term view around starting someplace and just kind of forcing yourself up that sort of maturity curve to the point where you can be more self-sufficient, right? There's plenty of resources out there. You could even work like with Ingram Micro's agency and utilizing their marketing services. And that's a key, differentiator that we provide is, we're here to empower Ingram's partners and their clients to really thrive. And the expertise that Ingram brings to the table is significant because we work with them on such a regular basis that we reinforce what we do, but reinforce it through their sellers.
Hey everybody, Logan with Sweetfish here. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know we're big proponents of putting out original, organic content on LinkedIn. But one thing that's always been a struggle for a team like ours is to easily track the reach of that LinkedIn content. That's why I was really excited when I heard about Shield the other day from a connection on, you guessed it, LinkedIn. Since our team started using Shield, I've loved how it's let us easily track and analyze the performance of our LinkedIn content without without having to manually log it ourselves. It automatically creates reports and generates some dashboards that are incredibly useful to see things like what content's been performing the best and what days of the week are we getting the most engagement and our average views per post. I'd highly suggest you guys check out this tool if you're putting out content on LinkedIn. And if you're not, you should be. It's been a game changer for us. If you go to shieldapp.ai and check out the 10-day free trial, you can even use our promo code B2B Growth to get a 25% discount. Again, that's shieldapp.ai, and that promo code is B2B Growth, all one word. All right, let's get back to the show.
What is your thought? You alluded to it earlier. People are thinking, do I start with the company brand or do I start with my personal brand? How do you typically advise folks when they're asking that question?
So I gave the LinkedIn answer, and I also gave my own personal answer in the breakout session. Ultimately, our job at LinkedIn, our goal is to empower the global workforce, right, for economic development and to exceed and reach their goals. And the way I look at this is we're all going to change jobs at a certain point in time. Right, I mentioned that having the 25 to 30 year run at a company, while that's admirable, and I would love to do that myself. This is the 7th company I've worked for in 25 years in tech, and that's just the nature of the business.
Yeah.
So I think you need both. You need to be smart about your own personal brand and how you develop that from a relevant standpoint within a platform like LinkedIn. So quite frankly, you could take care of yourself and your family economically. Mm-hmm. And then as you work for companies, you want to be a good reflection of the values and what they currently stand for in the environment today, in terms of work environment and what they're doing socially and helping others in terms of to solve their own business needs and problems. So you really have to look at it as twofold. You want to promote what your organization's doing, but the most specific or the most amount of value I think that companies get from their employees isn't necessarily being a cheerleader just about their brand all the time, but it's to kind of mix the cheerleading in with their own personal perspectives and weave in the narratives around how they see the marketplace as an individual and how they're trying to help the marketplace thrive and excel or solve some sort of problem or become better at what they do in some way. And that's what we do at LinkedIn, the Marketing Solutions Group. Is our job is to help our clients reach a greater set of prospects or go deeper and wider existing accounts through like account-based marketing. But ultimately, it's to give the tools and the resources to companies so that they can grow economically so we can all live in a much better society.
Yeah. No, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I know that when I'm scrolling through my feed on the LinkedIn app, it's the personal accounts that I tend to resonate with the most, and it's their stories. It's not a sales pitch for what their value prop of their company is. It's man, I was talking to a customer today and they were really struggling with this. Right. And after a 30-minute conversation, here's where we landed. We think that da-da-da.
Exactly.
I mean, there's so many opportunities, I think, to start building your brand on the back of LinkedIn
to that point, like I took a picture in front of the Dell Technology tree, I guess, for lack of a better term, but with an old former coworker of mine at AMD. From years ago. I had not seen Linda in probably a decade now. And so she saw me, she stopped, she works at Dell. She's like, hey, take a picture over there, a couple of hashtags on your LinkedIn profile, and we're going to plant a tree for every photo we get on the LinkedIn platform.
I love that.
So once again, I mean, it wasn't hard for me to take a couple minutes out of my day to take the photo, put up on LinkedIn, and already I have something in the neighborhood of 300 or 400 views of that specific, and then people commenting. And the cool thing is other people are here, they'll see that, they'll come up to me, but more importantly, they'll go back over to the Dell area and they'll take a picture of the tree. And once again, if Dell's planting a tree, I mean, how can you not just take a couple minutes to do that?
That's a really, really smart,
kind of low-hanging fruit.
Smart way to execute that. That's interesting.
It's great.
So a big challenge that I'm sure you hear a lot, I know I hear a lot, is time and resources. There's never enough. We never have enough time. We never have enough resources. How can companies be more resourceful and efficient with their marketing strategy from your perspective?
I think they have to set very specific goals for themselves. Don't give themselves layups necessarily, but have sort of a crawl, walk, run approach. Okay. Be willing to start someplace, make some mistakes, sort of, iterate on those mistakes, learn from them, and sort of, build from there. No one's going to run a perfect campaign every single time. It's impossible. Our team does a lot in terms of helping clients really maximize and optimize their campaign dollars. But at the end of the day, any good marketer who's honest will say, I've had quite a few duds in my career. maybe more duds at times than home runs.
Yep.
Right. And I think companies have to set some realistic goals for themselves so they know where to start, where they're going to be mid-level, and then where they're going to kind of look towards in terms of from the next 3 to 5 years out.
Got it. Can you walk us through kind of what maybe the anatomy of a campaign or a successful campaign? Does that look like giving away some sort of free resource on the front end and then kind of nurturing that opportunity via email or through other ads on LinkedIn? Walk us through.
So I would say the biggest challenge is immediately going for a specific type of lead or getting leads. And the channel is highly transactional. We're all prone and bent in that direction. I've been in the channel since 1995. So I know what it's like to face, daily, monthly, weekly, quarterly, annual sales goals. And we all want to get the lead that converts into, the $1 million opportunity. And the challenge is that, you first have to kind of speak to the audience. What we talk about a lot is warming the audience up and giving them specific content and giving them specific things to think about on their own sort of investigatory journey as they move towards, buying a specific solution. Only 15% probably of everyone in tech at any given time is exploring like an immediate opportunity. The majority of folks are, out there sort of learning about what's in the market. Is this Microsoft program or solution, is this the right one for me today? Where's the roadmap going? Do I talk to someone at Ingram Micro about, the technology stack that I'm using today? How can I better integrate it? And I think the big challenge is that, from a successful campaign, you want to have something that warms up the audience, that speaks to the audience at first. And then you start kind of leading into some of that mid-funnel, bottom funnel demand gen programs. So 6 to 8 weeks of kind of warming up an audience, and then taking those last 4 weeks, let's say, and actually doing some sort of hand-raising opportunity. We have lead gen forms that we offer at LinkedIn. It's ideal. You don't have to go to a landing page. Ingram Micro, as an example, can run lead gen forms within the platform. You literally just click on a button, and all the profile data that you have goes into a form. And it's optimized for mobile. So
it starts, Jason, with the first warming up that audience.
It does.
By providing really valuable content.
Right.
And what's fascinating to me about this space, whether you're an OEM, whether you're a VAR, your entire team is made up of very, very smart people. You're not in this space if you don't have an enormous amount of intelligence on your team. And so thinking about bottling up that intelligence and turning it into really valuable, actionable insights and content that can be used at the top of your funnel to actually get people to want to engage with you. And no, it's not going to turn into an opportunity right out of the gate. But I love that you talked about the importance of doing that on the front end and playing that long game, to what you were alluding to earlier.
That's exactly right. And even in my 10 months here at LinkedIn, although I've been in tech sales and enterprise sales for a long time, there are always processes and other things that you have to sort of get through and you have to make the best of. And success doesn't come overnight. I mean, you could have minor wins here and there, but ultimately it's about driving towards a specific vision. On a personal level, I've told my management team, I'm here. I have a 3 to 5 year vision for what we want to build collectively within the IT channel at LinkedIn for marketing solutions, and how we can empower clients like Ingram Micro to get more market share, to develop better contacts, to have a greater presence within a platform like LinkedIn, so there could be a higher degree of relevancy. And ultimately, that's going to, long term, it's going to drive lower cost per leads for Ingram. It's going to drive better skills for the digital marketers. And they're going to have a better grasp on their audience around who specifically is buying certain solutions, given the fact that we have so much data that we can give to them, and we can also help them interpret.
Jason, do you have any specific success stories of IT companies that you've seen win really big on LinkedIn?
I would say what we've done in particular is traditionally LinkedIn has worked a lot with the brand directs of the world, the Ciscos, the Microsofts, the HPs, the Lenovos. What we've been able to do with LinkedIn on the channel side is really help our channel clients, empower them to be, really good marketers, and to understand digital and social in such a way where possibly they hadn't had that exposure to a LinkedIn because there wasn't a dedicated team like we have today. And so I'd say a lot of the wins that we've had over the last 10 months or so that I've been here has literally been what we call light bulb moments. And these are qualitative moments where we'll go into a client and we'll have a round table. Like in Ingram Micro, we'll have 12 people at the table, and we'll do a training. And then they can take that information, what we've just given them, they could bring that out to their clients, and they can sort of replicate it around best practices and how they go to market and what they do. Okay. The traditional campaign components aren't going to change much, right? It's still going to be warming up the audience and engaging them with content and video, getting them to think differently about a certain product or solution, and then getting them to raise their hand so they now become sort of a prospect that's highly nurtured.
Yeah.
So I'd say the big thing for us has been really giving our channel partners the ability to view us in a much more specific light, and then helping them, drive down CPLs or helping them fill their pipeline in terms of from a revenue standpoint. And while I can't give away individual details, we are working across, Ingram Micro's top tech partners are also ours. Mm-hmm. So we work with the channels divisions of all those organizations like the Ciscos and the HPs and the Lenovo's of the world to help them also better understand how to use LinkedIn from a channel perspective as a platform.
Yeah. I love it. So this is our last question, Jason, and it's one that I love asking. Where do you see technology going in the next year?
Oh boy, that might be a little bit above my pay grade. However, I could tell you, at least from our perspective and from an IT channel lens, we see a greater adoption of the marketing technology stack. I was asked today as an example in the breakout session, HubSpot and Pardot and Eloqua and Marketo and all these other great MarTech vendors, who do we recommend? Well, at the end of the day, we could recommend any one of those. It really depends upon the customer needs. What's their budget? What can they adapt to in terms of integrate within their own platforms? How do they go to market? Who do they see themselves with longer term? Mm-hmm. It's not just about a CRM system today. I can tell you that one of the big reasons why I've come to LinkedIn from this standpoint has been the fact that we are a Microsoft-owned company for the last nearly 3 years now, and we're only seeing greater and greater opportunity as Microsoft invests more within our platform. Yet gives us a lot of autonomy to be who we are, but as they invest more in our platform with things like artificial intelligence and machine learning, and the whole process in the back end of being able to bring more relevant ads and programs and solutions to our clients, and also more importantly to our members on the platform. The more specific we can be, the less we can have to clutter up someone's feed with things that they're not interested in is really important. Yeah. So I'm really excited about the artificial intelligence and machine learning, really the back-end algorithms that really power the platform like LinkedIn, to make it as relevant as possible from a B2B standpoint, so people can come here on a continual basis and learn not just from companies that want to advertise to them, but learn from their peers and others within the network.
Yeah. Jason, I have a feeling I know how you're going to answer this, but how can listeners stay connected with you?
So you can send me a LinkedIn invite to Jason Carriere, which is Carriere. I am on LinkedIn, of course. I'm based in the Chicago suburbs. So if you send me an invite, I promise I will, especially if you're in technology, I promise I will accept, and would love to also let you guys know too that LinkedIn Marketing Solutions has its own group on LinkedIn as well. Okay. So if you sign up for LinkedIn Marketing Solutions, you sign up for the content. We'll also be able to push you relevant content that's going to help you make you a better marketer, and more importantly, give you sort of the tools and tips that you're going to need to actually impress the folks that you work with.
Wonderful. Jason, thank you so much for your time today. If you're listening to this and you have not already subscribed to the podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts, make sure to subscribe, and then stay connected with us by following us on Twitter at Ingram Tech Soul, and then join the discussion. Use the hashtag B2B Tech Talk, and we are really excited to stay connected with you there. Thank you so much for listening.
It's great. Thank you, James. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to B2B Tech Talk with Ingram Micro. This special edition 1 episode is sponsored by Cisco. B2B Tech Talk is a joint production by Sweetfish Media and Ingram Micro. Ingram Micro production handled by Laura Burton and Christine Fan. To not miss an episode, subscribe today in your favorite podcast player.
All right, everybody. I hope you liked that episode of the B2B Tech series with Ingram Micro. Again, you can find their full podcast feed by searching B2B Tech Talk in Apple Podcasts or wherever you do your listening. As always, thank you so much for listening. Stay safe, everybody.
I hate it when podcasts incessantly ask their listeners for reviews, but I get why they do it, because reviews are enormously helpful when you're trying to grow a podcast audience. So here's what we decided to do. If you leave a review for B2B Growth in Apple Podcasts and email me a screenshot of the review to james@sweetfishmedia.com, I'll send you a signed copy of my new book, Content-Based Networking, How to Instantly Connect with Anyone You Want to Know. We get a review, you get a free book. We both win.